Hello, everyone. I wanted to talk about a couple ideas for projects that I have. One I've had for a while, and the other one's new with the new procedural content generation. So the first one is sorry, this Unreal Code Kits. So what is that? Um, this is just a proof of concept. This is very basic website. It's not, wouldn't be the real thing. But what it is basically an open source, community-driven site where we can find completed pieces of code. Okay, so like this substrate moss material, I watched this video here on how to create this substrate moss material. I created it, I then zipped it up into a package, and now you can just download that zip. Okay, so what do I mean by the completed code kit? So well, let's take a look at this real quick. Um, so we download it and let's take a look at our folder here. I already have it downloaded. Let's just take a look and see what it looks like. So, you download it, you unzip it, and then you just copy it over to your project. And here's that substrate folder, okay? Um, called Moss. So that's what you'd actually get. And inside this folder, you have materials and material functions. And so now once you download that, you can just take this material function here and then use it in your code. There's no other dependencies. So that would be, what would be considered a completed code kit. Um, let's go back. Um, so there's a lot of code that we reuse when we develop an Unreal Engine. Maybe a door component, a material function that creates ripples on water, and there's wonderful, great tutorials out there for all sorts of things, from creating visual effects and just tons of stuff. And so we, as developers, and when you guys are doing your games, you're writing your own code or writing a door component or making a visual special effect, stuff like that. And we're just basically recreating a wheel and a lot of the common components. The marketplace is great. It's got a lot of awesome stuff to download, and you pay for it. And some of the stuff is really, really worth the money, but then there's no try before you buy, and there's a lot of stuff that isn't worth the money. You don't know it until you pay for it. And then you've got stuff that is really cool, but then the developer doesn't update it or doesn't update it for the next version of engine, and so you get a lot of those things. But with the open source site, and it's just basically stuff that maybe you develop, or if we could just get people that go to these tutorials and they follow on the tutorial and they create this and they zip it up and they can upload it to this site, so that we could have you know, you know, hundreds upon hundreds of pieces of code, complete pieces of code that are not dependent on anything, that users can search and sort and filter. And when this site doesn't have any of that, it's just a proof of concept again, just simple list detail, nothing to it. But this would be, a full site where you could manage, the versions of the code that you're uploading. But the whole idea is that it's a complete piece of code, a zipped up folder with all the code and dependencies and everything in there. So the user just downloads that, they copy it over to their Unreal direction, open it up, and now they can plug in the material function, or they can drop the door blueprint component on their scene, or drop the VFX application and everything. It's just very simple, easy to use, so that we can focus on creating and less on actually coding stuff that we, code over and over and over again. So if you guys are interested in a site like this, let me know. And again, I don't want to do this on my own. I don't want to develop it on my own. I don't want just, a few people interested in it and saying, hey, that's it. If there's not enough interest, I'm not going to do it. But I just really think it would be an awesome to have an open source community where you can just search for pieces of code and download it and use it in your projects and focus on creation. So let me know what you think about this kind of site. And reach out beyond the Discord server you're on now to other friends and people you know, and see if there's enough interest, and let me know and see if there's people willing to help create the site. We would maybe use Notion for documentation, so we have kind of rules that when you upload to here, you've got to use Notion. You've got to create documentation, supporting documentation. Otherwise, if it's not supported and there's not documentation on how to use whatever pieces of code you've uploaded, and maybe a video tutorial, if there's not enough of that, and then people aren't going to use it, and it's just going to be a waste of time and energy creating this. So those are the kind of things that if there's enough interest in doing this, we need to all come together and figure out, okay, how are we going to do this? And what are the guidelines? What are the rules? And maybe make a way to package it up and upload it. And that is the other thing about the site. I don't have, the money to have a server that hosts, these files can be huge. So we need to figure out a solution of are we going to try to use GitHub repos and link it all to that, or I don't know. I'd like to have it all contained into one server with enough file storage to handle it. And that's another thing. Maybe we could talk to Unreal and see if they're interested in doing something like this. I've always thought, hey, that would be a great feature for Unreal to have a site where users can upload and complete a piece of code and search it and download it. And I don't know if they would want to do that. Being able to use Unreal's login system instead of creating our own, that would be awesome too. So again, now that you understand what I'm looking at creating, I need to know if there's enough interest and enough help to do that. That's number one. So Unreal Code Kits is what I'm temporarily calling it right now. And again, self-contained completed pieces of code to use in your uh, Unreal project and developed by the community. The second idea that I'm looking at is procedural content generation, and this is I'll link these tutorials. This is the tutorials I'm going through right now. This guy's got an awesome tutorial about procedural content generation and generating a forest environment. He goes through all sorts of aspects, very well explained about how PCG works and how to actually build this forest scene using Megascan assets, and uh, and I'm going through that. And once I complete that, that to me is going to be a nice self-contained piece of code. PCG forest generation. I'm actually calling it PCGBiomes because I want to eventually have PCGBiomes where you can create a forest, or maybe you can create a shoreline or something in the winter. And so this I would like to create a PCG system where we can just one click and generate something like the Electric Dreams demo. And that's another thing. This is a cool site to create this for us, but there's a lot of awesome pieces to the Electric Dreams demo, that I would like to incorporate into this, and so that users, again, they can, instead of focusing on how to do PCG, they can just change some parameters and put in, instead of a birch forest, you can just put in, redwood forest, or well, I mean, what black alder forest from MS, and change out your grass materials and change out whatever you want, and then, and then different biomes. And so we can basically make this whole PCG framework for creating worlds. Creating our forests, creating our rivers, or creating our roads and ditches and all sorts of things like what they have in Electric Dreams and in this example tutorial. And then again, once we do that, we can just focus on creating. And then users don't need to be technical artists. They can go in and they can just swap out whatever meshes and stuff, or change the parameters to completely change the look and the size and all that kind of stuff of of their environment. So creating this PCG biomes and forest systems is what I would also like help in, and that would be, a separate project. And then, if you like the code kits, that would be something that we would upload to code kits, and they can download the PCG biomes, and then boom, there it works. So that's the second idea, is creating a kind of a complete environmental system with the procedural content generation. It's really, really cool. I mean, so many possibilities with PCG. And again, I would recommend, if you're interested in it all, I will put the links to this guy's tutorial in it, and he explains a lot of stuff, very well done. Also, if you haven't looked, go to Unreal Engine site and look at the Electric Dreams um, videos they have that explains the different parts of Electric Dreams and how to use it, and also look at the Electric Dreams deep dive video if you're interested in that. So again, I want to see what kind of interest you have in these two projects, and if there's not enough interest, I'm not going to put the time into it. So please let me know, give me your feedback, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much.